Follow me on Facebook or Twitter. And if you dare, to the buffet table. DeCarlosDanger.com. It's a vlog production on special location in the Second Amendment City, the town, Too Tough to Die, home of Boot Hill, Big Nose Cates, and American Legion Post number 24. That's right, America and the world. We're talking about the one, the only Tombstone, Arizona, in the United States of America. Had the opportunity to have some special guests on this one. Very special guests from Buffalo Soldiers America Incorporated, Arizona Chapter MC, the President and CEO, Chaz Jackson. And special insight from a fellow shellback, Mr. Primetime. And portions of audio from a special Buffalo Soldier facilitation presented by the Lions International at Shefflin Hall, a Q&A session with Mr. Colonel Alan West. It's a nice day, beautiful time. Got to see some wonderful things, had a wonderful weather, a little bit of rain, but I tell you what, it really wasn't that bad. But before we move on to those interviews and some of that audio, we're going to move on to the local tyranny report presented to you and brought to you by DeCarlosDanger.com, where no matter your political persuasion, everybody can laugh at a little weenie joke. All right, folks, moving on to the local tyranny report reporting from Sierra Vista, Arizona. Your local council yesterday approved a community block grant that exceeded the 20% authorized oversight fee. Oversight fees are 20%, so that every $100,000 that we get in grants of financial privilege from the federal government, 20% is taken off the top, so we only see $80,000 of it. And if you're had the mayor inquired with our community development director, and he verified that 20% was the cut that was taken out. So let's take this a little bit further. We've identified it in the community development block grants, and therefore a possible and most likely, and hey, there's some administrative burden with every grant that comes from somewhere, and I don't know if it's exactly 20% or not, but I bet you somewhere it's between probably 17% or higher, maybe excess of 20%, or maybe it can't. There's more meat in the bone there, folks. It'll be up to you to go ahead and check it out. I showed you the breach. It's up to you to go after it now. This isn't new. This is one of the preserving principles that was written in anybody's handbook for the Constitution and with the Declaration of Independence on it. I'll give you an example here. I am committed against everything which, in my judgment, may weaken, endanger, or destroy, meaning the Constitution, and especially against all extension of executive power. I am committed against any attempt to rule the free people of this country by the power and the patronage of the government itself. And that was penned or written or spoken by Mr. Daniel Webster during the founding of our country. So it appears that we may have found a way to wrestle the budget in a logical fashion that doesn't pick it at a department, but just kind of shows which departments may perhaps be a little bit too big and not be self-funding and self-sustaining. So perhaps we may have to break out the Agenda 21 books and read some of their words and shove them right down their throat just based upon the principle of the matter and not necessarily have to be political at all. Well, that's my opinion. my insight, my analysis, and my assessment. And it's really, it is what it is. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be. We're going to move on to our first interview. It's going to be with Mr. Chaz Jackson, the president and founder. I believe he was a founder by with a little bit of background, but president and CEO of Buffalo Soldiers America, and president of the Arizona chapter of Buffalo Soldiers MC, Mr. Chaz Jackson. We'll have that right now for you.
All right, folks, this is DeCarlo's Danger. Michael DeCarlo here in Tombstone, Arizona, talking with Chaz, the president of the Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club and Buffalo Soldiers Incorporated. It's a 501c3. We're down here in Tombstone, Arizona, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the making of Tombstone. And
the 10th annual anniversary of the Buffalo Soldiers.
Say again, sir?
This is our 10th salute to the Buffalo Soldiers.
And more importantly, and the most important thing, is the 10th annual salute to the Buffalo Soldiers. And Chaz, I know that the American population has no clue in the historical value of the Buffalo Soldiers. Can you please fill us in so that we can let people actually educate them? And
First of all, we're the Buffalo Soldiers of America Incorporated. This is our Arizona chapter. My name is Chaz Jackson. I'm the president and founder of the Buffalo Soldiers of America Incorporated. Now, we have a traveling museum. You get it right. We have a traveling museum. We go all around the country here, and we've been to 65 schools, 15 colleges, and done over 150 events promoting the legacy and history of the Buffalo Soldiers, and also all of the other awards that the African Americans have fought in. We have a historical museum that depicts, with the uniform, mannequins, 6-foot tall mannequins of every war that the United States has been in and the Buffalo Soldiers participated in, including the Tuskegee Airmen. Now, a lot of people don't know the first fighter pilot was not a Tuskegee Airman for the United States. His name was Eugene Bullard. He fought with Lafitte Escadrille in France. And when he fought, he flew 30 missions. And the thing that happened to him was the discrimination of the United States as usual. When the United States came into the war, the last year of World War I, they would not allow him to fly, and even though he was already a fighter pilot, because he was black. Now, one thing you don't know about Eugene Bullard is that he had, you know, he got this flies out here in Tombstone, there's something else.
it's about the horseshit.
Yeah. He left Georgia with his mother and father when he was a teenager because he was working with, how do you call it, a traveling carnival. And these were gypsies from Europe. And they were telling him that there was none of that discrimination like what the blacks were enduring in the South back around 1900. So they said it wasn't like that in Europe. So he got on a ship and worked on the ship and went to France. Joined the French Foreign Legion, got wounded over there, but he was also a professional boxer and champion in France.
Really?
Right. So when Lafitte Escadrille formed the French Air Force, and they had volunteers from the United States and all over to fight the Germans, his friends said he should join. Well, they didn't discriminate. He joined. Okay? But when the Americans came in, they wouldn't let him fight. Now, the movie, Casablanca, is really about him. If you saw the movie, you notice that Humphrey Bogart had the black guy, his friend, playing the piano. But it's in reverse. Eugene Bullard owned the bar. He owned the nightclub. And he was bringing in entertainers when the Germans had World War II. So he was spying for the United States, and the Germans would be in the bar, and that was kind of the way he lived. But when things got really bad and they were executing the Jews and all that stuff and annihilating Africans down in Africa, the Germans were, he took his wife and family and his daughters and went back to New York. So that's World War II. In the 50s, President de Gaulle, who was a French president, he came to the United States, saw Eisenhower, and asked Eisenhower about Eugene Bullard. Eisenhower knew nothing about Eugene Bullard, but he was a legend in France.
Isn't it odd, though, that you and I see each other eye to eye, person to person? There's no character to character. But yet, the very government that we all signed up to defend sees us as nothing more than a number and chooses to classify us by itself.
Right.
And the thing is, it discounts the actions of people historically and the significance they've made in American history. And history's written by the victors.
Right, I'm gonna tell you. Yeah, that's right. That's what I was saying. Listen to John Wayne. I tell people, I've done so many presentations. I'm gonna tell you about Bullard. Finish this real quick. De Gaulle looked for him, so they sent the FBI out to find him. They found him operating the elevator in New York. De Gaulle met with him and talked to him. A few years later, Eugene Bullard died. De Gaulle sent the French Foreign Legion honor guard to retrieve his body, took him to France, and gave him full military honors with a memorial, with a big monument.
Patriotism goes further than our borders.
See, when I talk, I don't want to offend nobody, but I'm telling you, we have fought. The first person to die for this country, when we fought the British, was Christmas Attucks, a black man. But we have died and been prejudiced against us. I'm on my way to Japan, probably on my way to Vietnam. And this in 1961, right? You know what? They wouldn't serve me in Texas and I was in uniform. I had to almost cussed out the Greyhound driver, everybody on the bus. I didn't care if I went to jail. I said, I'll be damned if I'm gonna go die for this country for this shit.
Right.
And I say, but you know one thing? We blacks have always fought for this country, been heroes fighting for this country, and came back to prejudice where we couldn't eat places. But still, we've always went and fought. I'll give you another story. This young man, brother, was drafted and went to Korea. Was awarded the Silver Star, died in Korea. They brought him home to Birmingham, Alabama. The white nationalists was waiting at the cemetery, at the veteran cemetery, told them they're not going to let this N-word person be buried with our, what did he call them, Confederate heroes. So they had to take the boy somewhere else. His brother was younger. He remembered that. Vietnam broke out, they drafted him. All he remembered was, why should I go die for this country and my brother died for this country and they wouldn't even give him honorable discharge, honorable burial because of the prejudices. You know what? He still went and fought for this country. And that's what we've always done.
Always done our duty, haven't we, sir?
That's what we've always done. We still go. Even though they didn't serve me in Texas, I still went on to Okinawa and knew that my life was in jeopardy if they were going to send me on to Vietnam.
I got a unique perspective from my life to share with you. I grew up 10 miles from Oberlin, Ohio, maybe 20 miles from Oberlin, Ohio, 10 miles from the Underground Railroad as in the Lake area. Station 100 is Lakeview Park in Lorain, Ohio. And I live now in Sierra Vista, which is the home of the Buffalo Soldiers.
Right. That was the last home of the Buffalo Soldiers. That's the only, the Buffalo Soldiers were stationed at 51 forts in the United States. Their first fort was Fort Snedden, Minnesota, okay? They had forts in every state. They built forts, and they built 29 forts, were stationed at 51. I got the book, Bob Boswell. He signed the book for me and made the book because I challenged him. Bob Boswell and I were at the Festival of the West. I had my book like this. Bob Boswell was the second book over there. Bob Boswell, and I told him, I said, Bob, what's your problem? I said, I watched you on the Western Channel. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. My granddaddy drove chuck wagon across Old Mexico to Bisbee, Arizona. I say there's black heroes who were cowboys, there's black outlaws, like Cherokee Bill out of Oklahoma killed a whole lot of people. They hung him and all four of his comrades. And I said, and the best marshal in the United States is Bass Reeves. Why don't you talk about them sometime on your show? You know what he did? He looked at me. He didn't say much. 2 months later, he called me and said, Chaz, I'm sending you something. A big box showed up at my door. He must have had 50 magazines in there about the black heroes of the West. And he taught me some stuff in that book I didn't know. He had a map of the United States that showed every fort the Buffalo Soldiers were stationed at, every fort the Buffalo Soldiers built, and every fort the Buffalo Soldiers had skirmishes at. And I got that.
That's
and I sent them out to all the Buffalo Soldier organizations, so-called Buffalo Soldier people that's running around here saying they were trying to be Buffalo Soldiers. But I told a lot of them, I said, you cannot be running around here talking about you a Buffalo Soldier and you don't know the history. I know the history.
Amen. Chaz, I appreciate you spending some time with me and answering some of the questions and telling us some of the stories to fill in the gaps in American history.
And you're right about one thing, like John Wayne said, the conquerors write the history the way they want it to be.
Amen.
But our job is to make sure you know what's correct.
It's our job to tell our children so they understand.
Tell it right.
That's right.
Make them proud.
That's right. Thank you very much for your time.
When I do presentations at the school, especially the ones who are 8th graders and below, I say, how many of you talk to your grandfather and grandmother? Ask them where they came from. Ask them what they did. You will be surprised at and how proud you're going to be once they start talking to you.
That's right. Once you hear your own story, your own ancestry.
That's right.
That's right. It's a healing. It's a healing
thing.
thing.
Make you proud of your ancestors.
That's right. Well, thank you again,
brother.
Chaz. I appreciate it.
Ain't no problem.
We'll see if we can get this out and get spread the news.
You gonna be around a while?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna be over. Carlos Danger here in Tombstone, Arizona. Still, we're gonna have another interview here with Primetime. He's gonna fill us in some information that I bet most folks never knew about, and that would be about women in the military, the first female black soldier in the military. Primetime, you want to fill us in on that?
Sure. First of all, I want to say I am a shellback, and I guess you consider me a golden shellback. I've been across the equator and international deadline a couple times. That was while I was in service. But to get back to the Buffalo Soldiers, Kathy Williams was a slave. Her mother was a slave, but her father was a free man. He fought for the North. After the war was over, Kathy, she didn't want to be responsible or be somebody else's responsibility. She wanted to work and earn her own keep. So her and a couple of her cousins joined the military. Well, how that happened was back in that day, well, first of all, she was big for a woman. She was 5'7". She could handle herself well. And they didn't do physicals, what we call the way they do it today.
They didn't know she had any?
Nope. They didn't know. So, you know, she was great. She did her job. She could handle anything. So she did her job, and so she was in for 2 years. And she got sick, and that's when they found out that she was a female. But she didn't get her pension like a lot of the other non-black people did. But she did serve honorably, and they did give her an honorable discharge. And that's basically the Kathy Williams story and how she went in. She just changed her name around and used it backwards to get in the military as a man. And she got an honorable discharge, as I said, and she fought right alongside the other men. And of course, you know, when she had to go do her privacy like the other men, she had to go off, you know, into the bushes or whatever. That's how she did her business, and that's why they never found out she was a female until she got sick.
I saw her book over at the museum. Is there a copy of it for sale?
I'm sure there is.
And if not, I'll take a picture of it, and I'll make sure I post it on here, and we'll be able to get it on Amazon.
Yes, and if it should be online, because it's been out a long time.
Right, sir.
So I think that would be a that would be a great thing to do, to get it out, to find out that we, the Buffalo Soldiers, have always been integrated, and we are the first to have a woman serve in the military.
True American patriots, sir. True American patriots.
Yes, sir.
Prime time, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
you
you
have a
much,
wonderful
Greg.
day.
Appreciate
and
it.
I appreciate you spending
God
time
bless.
to send your wisdom with us, and hopefully we can spread this news around.
It's my pleasure.
All right, man. Thank you.
Well, I think it's so important that we all understand that if you don't have your Second Amendment rights, you don't have your First Amendment rights. And the founding fathers were very prescient in understanding and putting that there. And I find it so interesting that here in the United States of America, we forget that on April the 19th of 1775, something happened that changed the direction and established this great nation. And that was when the shot that was fired that was heard around the world at Lexington Green. But so many people, we don't study our history, we don't understand our history. We don't know why was it that the British were marching from Boston Harbor up to Concord, Massachusetts. And the whole reason.
Consider going back into politics.
Well, I tell you, not a day goes by, I don't get my arm twisted on that. You know, one of the things that, every guy down south believes he's part preacher. Because that's not what happens. There's a great verse out of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 5 through 6. It says, trust in the Lord with all thy heart. Lean not upon your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. See, I don't know what God has in store for me, in the future of my life. I know that I was supposed to be right here, right now. And I want to honor and give glory to him for all the things he's done in my life. Now, I have a heart to serve.
Amen.
And if the people of Texas, if the American people wish for me to go back to that crappy place called Washington, I don't know why you would wish that on anybody. But I would do it. Because I think right now, if we were to have people that, when they took their oath, remember the oath that we took? I took that oath on 31 July 1980. To support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America as always is foreign investment, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. If we had more people who took that oath and were willing to lay down their lives for that oath, if they were willing to make sure that the American interest was served and not their own personal interests or not their self-interest or special interests, then we would have a different country.
Yep.
And I think right now the most important thing is we need to get true service back up in Washington, D.C. We need to get people that are going up there and will not be enticed by all the trappings of that place. And I'm telling you, it is, you don't have to give yourself breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's always somebody there that is willing to do it, but it comes with a price. Now, I don't know, but I will tell you that after this election cycle, I will be in prayer about it and be on the lookout for a potential announcement next year. Yes, okay. If there is a child in here under the age of 13, please cover their ears. Let me tell you what opinions are. Opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one, and most of them stink. So I'm not going to give you an opinion, I'm going to give you an assessment. Yes, we need term limits. Why do we need term limits? We need term limits because one person once said this. He said, nothing so greatly impels a man to regard the interests of his constituents than the certainty of returning to the general mass of the people from whence he was taken, where he shall participate in their burdens. 17 June 1788, George Mason had the Virginia ratifying convention for our Constitution. Our founding fathers never meant for us to have career politics. Our founding fathers always meant for us to have citizen service, citizen legislators. When they said recess, that meant you went back to your regular job. If it was a farmer, a doctor, a lawyer, what have you. But the problem is this: we, as the American people, we don't study. We don't teach civics or history in our schools anymore, so therefore we've gotten complacent. And so we'll go to the ballot box and we'll just hit the same old name, the same old person, because we just don't want to do our due diligence. Remember, it was Benjamin Franklin who once said, sometimes you get the government you want, other times you get the government that you deserve. This is where we are in the United States of America. Yes, we need term limits. Most of our, state legislators have term limits on them. This is what I say, 12 years. 12 years maximum to be in the House and the Senate of Washington, D.C. Why do I say 12 years? Because that's 2 terms in the United States Senate. And then that would also be 6 terms in the United States House of Representatives. But that is not transferable. Don't think that you can go over to the House and serve like 8 terms and then go to the Senate and then it starts over at 0. You can hear, no, I mean 12 years over.
Period.
Okay, period. If you cannot get something done in 12 years, you don't need to be in Washington, D.C. Too many people go to Washington, D.C., becoming entrenched, and they don't remember why they were sent there. And their interest becomes codification. I will tell you something. When I showed up in Congress in 2011, Representative Dingle from the state of Michigan had been in Congress longer than I have been alive. Now, who replaced Representative Dingle from Michigan when he stepped down? His wife. This is what we don't need to have in America. But, once again, as the great Greek philosopher Plato said, one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you shall be governed by your inferiors. This is something where the American people need to get involved. America is a constitutional republic, people. When anyone says America is a democracy, they have it totally wrong. They get it. Yeah, it's a civics. It's a constitutional republic, which means 2 things. It's the rule of law and individual sovereignty and freedom. That's what we are founded on. That's what every one of our founding documents is about. And before I go to the next question, I'm going to put my finger in your chest and I'm going to challenge you to do something next week. What's next week Wednesday? It's Independence Day. It's not 4th of July. 4th of July is a day on the calendar.
Independence Day.
How many people have this on? You know what it is? And the Declaration of Independence. How can you consider yourself a citizen of the United States of America if you don't know what established the United States of America? See, we as soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines and Coast Guardsmen, we don't take an oath to a president or a political party. Take an oath to a document that binds us together, which is the Constitution. I want to challenge each and every one of you next week, Wednesday. Take some time out. Read the entire Declaration of Independence as a family. Bring in your children. Bring in your grandchildren. If your children or grandchildren say they need to go to a safe station, you jerk them about that much. And you tell them to sit down and listen to these words. These words, we can understand those words once again. We will understand what it means to be American. We will understand what it means to be the greatest nation that the world has ever known. Next week, Wednesday, I won't be there, but I have skills. And if you don't read that entire Declaration of Independence, I will find you.
This has been a DeCarlosDanger.com production. Special thanks out to Buffalo Soldiers America Incorporated, Arizona Chapter MC, President and CEO Chaz Jackson, and Primetime, and Colonel West, former congressman from Florida, for coming out and visiting the good people out in southeastern Arizona in Cochise County. May this find you all at peace, and I thank you for watching. And if you have any comments, please let me know. Take care.